Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Energize Your Online Business podcast. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Yay. As always, I am joined by my fabulous co-host, Kate Sitars. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
Hello. And Kate and I have the pleasure of being joined today by an amazing entrepreneur who also happens to be a CSS student, the wealthy wellness coach, Felicia Romero. Hey, Felicia.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, ladies, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We did it. We made it. Yes. And I'm especially excited because you and I had a chance to chat on your podcast, Hi Felicia, which was so much fun. And the funny thing is that when I was on your podcast, I didn't even realize that you were a CSS student. And in a way, we had already kind of worked together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally know Nikki. Well, obviously don't know you, but I know you from your videos and I feel like I know you and your story. And it was so funny because I get pitched, I've had a podcast now for 4.5 years. So I get pitched guests pretty frequently. And so when your pitch came through, it was like, oh my gosh, I just felt so honored and I was so excited. And I was like, I have to have Nikki on. And so I'm glad that we were able to make that happen because I already felt like I knew you based on the videos, right? And learning from you and being able to implement the strategies that I learned from you and your system. And so it was awesome to have you on. So thank you.
Yes, it was an honor for me as well. And we'll include the link to your episode, your podcast in the show notes for this. So if people want to go listen to that as well, they absolutely should. Yeah.
Follow, subscribe.
Subscribe. Absolutely. Please do. It's a fantastic podcast. So definitely do it.
Just hit 500,000 downloads this summer.
Hey, congratulations.
It was literally like a powerful milestone because I remember when I started the podcast, I don't know if you guys have gone through this, but there were like 50 people listening, right? And like no one was listening for like the first 3 months. And I kept telling myself, gosh, do I continue this? And then I saw like it went up to like 100. And then I sort of changed my perspective. Like, wow, if 100 people were sitting in this room right now in my house, that's a lot of people. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to have fun doing it. And whoever listens, like if it impacts one person, I know I'm doing my job. And 4.5 years later, and I'm sure, anyone who starts a business or starts something new can feel really defeating when you're not getting the engagement or the likes or even the response that you thought you were going to get. And so, just keep going because it does pay off. It really does.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah. We were just looking at our Spotify Wrapped yesterday and it was the same thing. It was like, oh, it's not just our moms listening. Like there's real people listening to this and being impacted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and to speak to that, tell us more about your business, Felicia. What do you do and who do you work with and how did you even get into business to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of keep it brief and short, kind of like in a little nutshell, but my background was not fitness. So, I've been a fitness coach. I've owned gyms for a little over 15 years. I sold my last brick and mortar in 2018. Prior to that, I was going to college and I was actually studying law. I took my LSAT for law school. I was an intern at the House of Representatives and here in Phoenix. And I was like I had a political science major. That's what I have my bachelor's in. And I was really going down that road. And I remember being at this crossroads when I was in my early 20s. Where I actually started training people out of my home. I got certified. I was personal training, mainly because I moved out of my house and I needed to make money, and so I'm like, oh, wow, well, this could be really cool. I could make my own schedule and still go to school. And I remember I was at this really pivotal crossroads where I could have gone to law school, but I also started this new thing that I was so passionate about and I loved helping people. And I made that decision to not go to law school. I mean, obviously, my mom was like devastated when I was telling everybody that my daughter was going to go to law school. And I was like, Mom, I really love this. I didn't know where it was going to take me. It was that fine line of like passion meets your purpose, and decided to go forth again, not having any plan. I remember when I opened up my first gym, I had no business plan, Nikki. Like I didn't know what a business plan was, but I knew I wanted to do this thing. And I often say, I think in my 20s, my naivete really kind of got me through a lot of that because I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew I had a big dream. And so I just made the thing happen. And as I continued to grow, by the age of 33, I'd opened up 3 gyms. And so it was a really powerful testament to just, again, follow my heart. And so during that time, I grew my brand. I started competing. I was an IFBB figure pro. So for those that don't know what that is, I sort of did I was part of like a beauty pageant with muscle. And that really kind of created this opportunity for me to get noticed. And so I've been on the cover of Oxygen magazine, Muscle and Fitness Hers, Flex magazine, and getting that exposure. And again, this is before social media. So really kind of building my brand in that way and my name, it was really that pivotal moment where action creates momentum, which creates opportunity. And so, a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish has really been because I took action. Right. And so fast forward to like these last couple of years now, selling my businesses and being in the online space and hitting these like milestones in my business with 6 figures and things like that. When I came across your, I was a CSS student, and when I came across your program, it was sort of this thing where I was like, gosh, some of the things that were working in the online space are not working anymore. Right. Like I can't just show up online on social media and like, oh, like people are going to buy from me. Now that worked 2019, 2020, 2021, but all of a sudden things started not working anymore. And what happens when things aren't working anymore? You can't keep doing the same thing, right? And expect the same result. And when I came across CSS, I was like, oh, this is different. This is something that I really need to implement in my business. And it has truly helped. And so, from helping people on their fitness journey to now helping fitness coaches create their 6-figure businesses. And now I've really kind of branched off into creating now masterminds. And I still have my passive income course, but I'm really diving into creating really sticky experiences with my community in terms of doing in-person live podcast events, while still having the online passive course. And that's what I'm really taking into 2024.
I love that. I love that. And knowing that you wanted to focus on in-person courses, did that at all affect your decision to want to step away from live launching?
No, let me see. I honestly, the live launching, and I know we talked about this, and maybe if you're listening now and you're a coach, live launching can be incredibly exhausting, right? It's like, and I do believe if you are new in this space, get your feet wet with live launching, get in there, figure out who your ideal client is, who is responding to your content. But I really just, for me, I wanted to focus and put an emphasis on the people that were already in my community. And the live launching and the constant sales, and I was also doing sales calls, was taking away from the experience with my people, right? And so like when I saw CSS, I was like, oh, this could be such a better way. And it also appears, and that's where I, was able to turn my program evergreen, where I used to also do start and stop programs, right? It has a start date of this day. It's 8 weeks long and it ends on this day. And I just found that incredibly exhausting. It worked like I said, in 2019, 2020, it was great. And then things started shifting in the online space. And I do believe the buyer started to get a little bit more, not cynical, but more like, it took a little longer to gain, I guess, the trust, and it took a little bit longer to kind of get them to convert, right? And so just things started shifting.
I agree. I think when like you said, in 2019, 2020, everything was kind of fresh and new for that audience on like, ooh, what is this? A live event I can go to? And by now people are going, oh, a live event. Do I have to show up for the live event? It doesn't. People used to set aside time on their schedules to attend live events, but now they'll sign up for it and then they go, oh, well, I have other stuff to do. It's not that important. And we're missing out on people who we could genuinely help because we're forcing them into those live events. So yeah, I agree.
Especially during the pandemic. I mean, we had so much time.
You're right. It was so novel. It's just this novel thing like, oh, what is this masterclass? And, now it's, so much more important to really nail that marketing and messaging, which I think is something that is so genius what you did with your program, and how your videos, they're self-paced and they're easily digestible. And another thing that I was doing wrong that I learned from you is my videos were too long. Everything was too long. My masterclass was really long. My mini courses were long. My the teachings were long, like, being able to kind of like condense everything and making things a little bit more digestible felt easier for my students versus this long 1 hour class. And so thank you for that as well, because I learned so much from the course. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, you are very welcome. Thank you.
I know we were chatting a little bit before we started recording about kind of attempting to go evergreen and how that wasn't working for you. Can you speak a little bit to that? And
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I thought that if I just had this evergreen program and I was able to sell on my social media. Now I never really I dove into the ads for a little bit. I don't love the paid ads. I don't want to say I don't love it. I think I needed to change my perspective around it, because the how I went to it in the beginning, like, oh, these ads need to convert, versus, and man, how, I don't know if you guys have ever been to like a mastermind event with high performing entrepreneurs, and like you needed to just, like, the money I spent and I heard that one thing, I just needed to hear that one thing to make this whole event worth it. And this ad specialist at this event that I had invested in was in LA. And, I was talking about what I was going through. And this was actually this year. So this was after I had launched the circuit, and I was going through some of the things that I was going through on my paid ads. And she's like, Felicia, you're expecting to have everyone that come through convert, and that's leaving you really disappointed. What if you just changed your perspective? What if you just treated them as like, this is my lead generation. This is what's going to like build my email list. They may or may not convert, and you're just going to continue to refine and get better. And that was just like, I know it sounds so simple, but how you just hear that one thing at the very right time that you needed to hear it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been facing this all wrong. Like, I was so like, dead set on this needs to convert versus just, hey, this is my great lead generation to build my email list and to really like get people into my world. And so like that really helped. And so I realized that I was really, really good at building community. I was really, really good at my social media and creating a really warm audience. And what the Evergreen taught me was that I was able to go evergreen and to have something that wasn't start stop, which was great. But what was happening is I didn't have any urgency. There was no like, oh, you only have 5 days to watch this mini course. Again, another thing that was happening, people would sign up and I'd have this ManyChat automation going. And for those that don't know ManyChat, it's just basically like basic keyword, and you're able to set up this automation. What was happening is there was no urgency for people to watch the videos. So they would just sit there, and I was like, hey, Cynthia, have you had a chance to watch the videos yet on how to make, X amount in, 3 months or whatever the marketing was? And she's like, oh no, I haven't got to that yet. My son is doing this, or I had this come up, or I had this come up. And so there was no like, oh, I better watch this or it's going to expire. There was no urgency. And so when I saw the ad for CSS, I was like, wow, this is what I need. Like there was, and again, I might have heard it before, but the way that you explained it, Nikki, and the way that I learned it from the course that you had created, your pre-recorded course, masterclass or mini course, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I need to learn to do. And it changed everything, Nikki. Like just even that little change, those little key phrases, those words of like, hey, this is expiring, you have 3 days, and each day they're getting that email, like that made a huge difference. And I know it sounds so simple, but so many people, you have these great resources at our fingertips, right? But you have to take action to do it, right? And it's, again, I think I knew it in the back of my head, like I've heard that before, but it was like, once I joined your program, it forced me into action to create the funnel in that way, to create the email sequence in that way. And it was just that little switch. So yeah, turn the circuit on. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I think too, it makes sense that we think, well, if I offer them something really valuable, if I'm giving them a free class that talks about how they can make $10,000 a month in their business, then they're going to watch it. Of course, they're going to make it priority. And it's unfortunately just not how humans work. Even when it's something that your audience wants, it's still without that deadline, people just don't take action. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I learned so much from that course, and it really helped. Like, I mean, just to give you some context, the ads weren't working and that was okay. But what I realized when I re-recorded my mini course and went from an hour and now I made it 20 minutes, things started shifting. People started getting through. I turned on my circuit and added the deadline funnel, the deadline funnel aspect of it. And I was able to create a 6-figure launch in about 45 days. And that was fantastic. And again, this was coming from like someone who felt so defeated because things weren't working. And again, this is a chance for you, if you're listening right now and you get really emotional over numbers or really emotional over like the post not turning out the way it did, or gosh, I thought this person was going to sign up and they didn't. We really have to kind of take our emotion out of it. You have to really look at your business in a very neutral way. And the moment you attach your self-worth to your business and your business numbers and your bank account, the moment that something goes wrong in that business, how do you think that's going to make you feel? So it was a really great reflection for me and a lesson for me to like, okay, I need to separate these things. Let me just analytically look at these numbers. Let me look at the data, because the data will tell you what you need to do. So, that gave me a chance. It took me a couple of weeks after feeling so defeated. I'm like, this is an awesome mini course. My program it can help so many people. Like I felt so passionate about my product, right? My service, my offer. And when I finally went in there and I looked at the numbers and I looked where people were falling off, and I was like, okay, this is what I need to change. But it took me a little bit to get there. I had to do some inner work, start a business. Yeah, when you start a business, it's going to reveal all of the personal things inside of you that may be going on. So that's why inner work and the mindset is just as important as the strategy piece. Like they coincide. You can't have one without the other. And it's so important to know that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I tell students often that when I was first getting started in my business and people would talk about mindset, I'd say, okay. Oh, mindset. Okay, great. Like you can keep your mindset. Just give me the strategy. Just give me the strategy to get stuff done. And now, many years into it and much more success into it, I can say, oh, no, yeah, mindset's like 80% of it, 90% of it. And then you can add the strategies on. I completely agree.
Yeah, I just hosted an in-person mastermind here at my home a couple of weeks back for my community. A lot of it I offered to a lot of the people that have been in have taken my offers or done a lot of my one-on-one coaching aspect of it. Some flew in from out of state. And it was great. I had 12 women here. Let me get a drink of water. 12 women here. They're all kind of like, Felicia, I just want the strategy for the new year. And I'm that's great. And I was like, oh, I set this up and I brought them in wanting to teach strategy. Yes, we're going to learn. We're going to break it down, like all of those things. But it's a 2-day mastermind. And I always do on the first day of the mastermind, because I've done retreats, I've done masterminds before. This is probably like the 6th or 7th in-person event that I've done in the last 3 years. And the way that I've set it up is the first day is always more of that like feminine embodiment day. And the second day is the masculine implementation integration day. And the reason I do that is because what they don't realize is, wow, I really needed that first day. I needed to be broken open. Yeah. I needed to understand why I get paralyzed before I post, or why I tend to put everything off and do all the things that are not moving the needle in my business and work on things that don't matter in my business, or that they are playing safe, or they're not thinking big enough, right? And so sometimes we need to do those things, create an experience or modalities, go through whatever it may be. Maybe it's breath work, or maybe it's energy, maybe it's human design, or whatever it may be, to understand themselves and understand like what is holding them back, and to get really clear on those things that are happening internally before we get into the strategy piece. Because you could have the greatest strategy. You could sign up for, circuit sales system. You could learn all of the things on how to build this thing. But if you are still in this place of like, oh, I actually don't really believe that I could make that money, like deep down inside in my subconscious, it probably won't happen, right? And you probably are going to self-sabotage or hold yourself back or talk yourself out of it, or say, well, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe, totally ghost the program and don't actually confront it or do it. And so we need to know why we continue to repeat those patterns, right? And so that's why the inner work is so important, because we have to confront those parts of ourselves that we are denying ourselves. I went to this conference a couple months back. I loved it. And the creator of the event said, in order for you to, her name is Lindsay Schwartz, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Said this awesome quote. She said, in order for you to be undeniable, you have to be willing to confront the parts of yourself that you're denying. And that is powerful, right? And that's part of entrepreneurship, right? And so, so many lessons.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, it's so important to understand the why you're not doing something, but also I think so many of us gloss over the why it really matters to do something. Like, well, okay, especially when you've been doing it for a little while, you think, well, I just want a business and I want to make X amount, right? We get caught up on the numbers. I want to make X amount. And certainly the numbers are important, but but why this number? And why does it matter that your business works? We call it the what is the big why, which I'm sure other people call it that as well. But why does it matter that you have more freedom? Well, because when growing up, my mom was never there. She had to work all the time and I missed having her around. So it matters to me to be the kind of mom that can be at all the events, that can be the volunteer mom, that I can just digging into why it matters to take that action can be so impactful as well.
Absolutely. I've been a fitness coach for 20 plus years, and this is something that I really learned in helping people change their body, right? And so it's more than just, and what you'll realize is, honestly, it's more than just someone wanting to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. We have to find a deeper meaning, because what happens is when we hit that milestone, let's say it's a money milestone, or let's say it's a weight loss milestone, what will happen is people will get there and, it's not good enough. I need to lose more. And we are then set ourselves up for this, when we have that expectation hangover, essentially, where it's like, I thought that I was going to feel different when I got to this place. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'm in my dream home right now. In my dream home, my fiance and I built it. We moved into it in 2020. We're on like an acre of land. And prior to that, I don't want to say I suffer from depression, but I have tendency to sometimes get depressed. And it's always this what am I not accomplishing, or what don't I have, which kind of sends me down this spiral. Once I have my dream house, or once I have my dream car, once I'm in this place financially, and then I'll be okay. And what I noticed is after every milestone, I would increase the milestone in my income. We moved into our dream house. I'm sitting in my office or in my backyard. Then it's always the next thing. Well, I'm in my dream house now, but our backyard isn't done. I need the perfect backyard, and then I'll be happy. And what happened is, I remember this pivotal moment. I remember sitting in my office, here in this office as I'm speaking to you now, and I actually started to feel scared. Oh, wow. I thought I was going to feel different. I'm here. I told myself that I would be happy once I was here in my office in my dream home with my perfect window in front of me. And I didn't feel any different. And I realized I'm the creator of my happiness, and I can make a choice. And that happened a couple years back when I made that decision to not put so much emphasis on the expectation, but to truly replace that with appreciation and gratitude. And I know it sounds so cliche, and I know it's gratitude. Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's so powerful. And when you really start taking notice of the things that you're really grateful for in the life that you have and the current place that you're at, you will truly create the abundance you're seeking, because it's already within you, right? And so when you're in that natural state of abundance and high vibe and appreciation, what do you think happens to everything around you? Your energetic force field starts to increase. And I don't want to go too woo-woo, but you really do. As you change, the person you're changing and you're becoming, everything around you changes, and the opportunities that are presented to you change. The money and the people that come into your world change, right? And so when we can go into the world in that way, don't be surprised. Like when all of these things start, like your income will increase, or you start changing into the person that you want to do. And it's really about the journey that you are on. That is the important thing, right? And so, yeah, I hit this pivotal moment a couple years back, and I actually got really scared. Like, why don't I feel happy? I'm in my dream home. Like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, okay, I need to surrender, and I need to just appreciate where I'm at. And so that was a really powerful. And again, that's part of the feminine embodiment, because without that, we can't strategize. We can't like really implement or take action or look at things in a neutral way, and being able to regulate ourselves to be okay where we're at now. And so it was a really powerful lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Well, and I feel that way kind of in the launch versus the daily sales, because the launch is that burst of energy, that high, the intensity, which we know can work and can be a lot of fun, but it's a very different experience to build a business where it's, and again, not to get woo, but it's receiving sales every day. You build it so that people are welcomed into your community and they get just what they need exactly when they need it. So they're supported all the way through. And you don't have to go, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is it going to be this? It's a much smoother, more peaceful process.
Yeah. I love that word peaceful. You're absolutely right. Because when you get those like cash influxes with the live launch, it's great, but also your nervous system is, whoa, this is so fun. And you see the little dings on your phone, and you're like PayPal and Stripe, and oh my gosh, like we get like so excited. But also, can you feel that same way when money isn't coming in, right? And so that's why the predictable sales model is so important, because you're able to have this like peaceful, steady income. It's predictable. And for those that maybe get really, that are affected with like the scarcity, or get affected by not making money and only rely on those live launches, what's going to happen? You're going to get burnt out. Mm-hmm. Your body and your nervous system is not going to be able to handle all the influxes, and it's going to feel really scary. You're not going to feel safe. And so, creating this predictable model where you can create these predictable sales is so much more peaceful. I love that word, peaceful. Yeah, mm-hmm. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to make sure that we talk about is you joined the circuit sales system, and you were ready to flip it on within about 2 months or so. And I should say too, while running a successful business and working with your clients and doing all the stuff it takes to keep your business going. So what are your secrets? What are your tips? What mindset did you have to get into to make that happen?
I love that. I showed up. I signed up. I remember I was so ready to sign up for your program. I had already done a lot of the groundwork. Mm-hmm. So I had a mini course. It was a 2-day mini course. I knew who my ideal client was. I knew what I had the foundation, right? Mm-hmm. I already knew all of those things. I just needed that last little piece to turn the evergreen model that wasn't working into basically what I learned in the circuit sales system. So that's why I was able to do it so fast, is because I had all my slides created. I had my mini course pre-recorded. Everything was done. I think that can sometimes take a lot of time. Like, what is your program going to be? What is the offer? Who do you help? What is the thing that you're teaching that you're going to bring people to? What is that lead generation or client attraction system that you want to use? And so I already had all of that. So that's why I was able to do it so quickly. And so the secrets, I don't really have. You have all the strategy secrets. So I learn from circuit sales system. If you haven't signed up yet, sign up for that. But the mindset piece, I can talk a little bit about. I had to, and for those that want this, that know that they're meant for more, that they know that they want to create that income. They know that they want to get out of, maybe scraping by, and they know that, because the online space is limitless. It really is. And once you have something that works, it can really, you can leverage that and really create an awesome, financial stability and income. And so for me, the mindset is I had to again, get rid of all the excuses of why I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I will tell you, I was so grateful for where I was, but you have to really kind of be grateful for where you're at, have one foot in desire and one foot in wanting more, right? Or gratitude. So what happened was, for me, I had to show up already doing the thing. I had to show up already knowing, oh, wow, I know I'm going to have a 6K launch, which was my goal. I actually had to already believe it. I had to show up every day like it was already happening, right? And so I think Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this too. I'm a huge Joe Dispenza fan. And, it's like the person you're becoming, the person you want to be, the place you want to go, you have to show up as that person now. And so that is the mindset that I went into when I would wake up in the morning and I would work on the thing that I needed to work on. Okay, what would the Felicia who is, making, 30, 35K months, 40K months, what is she doing today? Well, she's probably not scrolling on Netflix. Again, nothing wrong with Netflix. Sometimes I like, some of the trash, like, reality shows.
Virgin River.
Yeah. Virgin River. I cannot wait for the new season. But yeah, I love Netflix, just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to show up like, okay, what is Felicia doing today that's going to yield those results? And that's what I had to do each and every day. And I always do some sort of income producing activity every day. Income producing activity could be creating a sales page, having conversations, following up on emails. It could look like a lot of things, but I always made sure I did something every day that got me closer to the place I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm curious too, so 45 days, which is incredible. And then 6 figures, were you sending, when you flipped your circuit on, was it just to your current email list or who was going through the circuit initially?
Yeah, it was all of the people. So it was my current email list. Yes. And then I love social media. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot on social media. And so what was crazy too is, I started a TikTok account a couple of years back. Like when people were starting, I was like, oh, this could be fun. And I challenged myself. Let me just, get on TikTok like everyone else is doing. And I'm just going to challenge myself. I'm going to post every day, 2 or 3 times a day for 3 months. And I did that. And I grew my account. I think I'm at maybe 38,000 or something in a really short amount of time. And that's one thing that I really excel at is I love social media. And I don't look at it as, because some people have a love-hate with social media. When I change my perspective from, wow, social media and creating content can really just be an extension of my natural essence, right? And I took away the pressure of social media, the pressure of oh, what should I say? What should I do? And I just started having fun with it. And when I started doing that, videos started going viral and I started getting more exposure and lots of views. And so using the TikTok and the Instagram model and being able to really capture a lot of people in the Instagram stories and the DMs, that's really how I made a lot of my sales, along with getting people to watch my mini course. And that's something I really enjoy. I mean, there's times where I'll take social media detoxes and breaks. Yes, but I really have a great viewpoint towards social media and I love creating that. So that's where a lot of my sales came from, which naturally then grew my email list. But yeah, most of my sales came from email and social media, my podcast. Oh, and this is another little gem that I think could be really, really helpful for people out there. But I went on a podcast tour all of this year and last. So the last 2 years, I have a podcast booker as well. And so I'm a guest on 4 to 5 podcasts a month. And that was, I know it's more of a long burn. It's kind of a long game, but it works. It works. And you're chatting, you are being exposed to someone else's audience. And if you can commit for the year. I mean, we're going into 2024, but as you're listening to this, it's 2024. Commit to the year of being on podcasts. Now, gauge your energy and gauge what's good for you. But oh my gosh, that will change your business, especially if you are, speaking on podcasts where they have really engaged listeners and people are, really, they comment or they go to the Instagram or they're leaving reviews. It's been really helpful. So I've had a lot of people sign up for my programs because of the podcast that I've been on. So that's a little hidden gem for your audience.
Absolutely. Well, and then you end up with all of those assets yourself, and you can, like, we run ads to podcasts that I have been on because I want people to hear me on other people's podcasts. And actually, one of our CSS students the other day just said, "Oh, I heard you on so-and-so's podcast, and I signed up right away." And I went, because I'm running ads to that podcast episode because I want you to hear me and hear me interacting with somebody else and talking about it, and not overtly trying to sell, but just sharing information. And some people will respond to getting a straight up sales message. There are some kinds of people who go, you know what, just tell me what you have and let me buy it. And other people, they kind of want to get into it. They dip their toes in, and listening to podcasts can be a great way for them to do that. And we can use things like our social media, like even paid ads, to kind of gently guide people in our audience to discovering us on those podcasts when they're not really discovering us because we've been kind of sending them there all along. But you're right. It's podcasting can make for a great opportunity to just broaden your horizons.
Oh, it's been a game changer. Yeah. And that's why I tell people, you want to get more exposure. That's probably the lowest hanging fruit, especially if you have a hard time creating content or showing up online. If you could just have conversations. And, this is actually another content hack, out there is, again, take it or leave it. But I think it could be really helpful for people is as you're on those podcast tours, and yes, hopefully the person or the interviewer the show that you're on maybe creates assets, but if they don't, and just so that you have your own content, set up a little tripod next to your computer. I just set up my phone right in front of me, and it's on me, and you can see my mic, and I just record the interview, and I literally will take a 20-second soundbite. It could be something just boom, like so potent. And you can literally, from that interview, you can maybe get, 5 or 6 little short 10, 15-second sound bites, and you can literally create content on your social media with that, right? Or you can just have B-roll footage, right? B-roll footage of you on a podcast interview with text on screen. Like, it can really be that simple, right? And you might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone, save your time versus trying to think about, like, what kind of content am I going to create? You're probably dropping so many gems in that interview. There's going to be something in there that you can pull from, or a quote that you can pull from. It really can be that easy. So
absolutely. Just listening, I'm thinking 5 or 6. Felicia, dozens.
You've dropped so many.
Dozens. Yes, exactly.
Our social media manager is going to be so happy.
Yes. Felicia, this has been fantastic. And I certainly want to be cognizant of your time as well, because you have shared so much. If someone is listening, maybe they are also in fitness and health and they want to be coached, or they're just listening and thinking, oh, this woman is so smart, I need to know more about her. Where's the best place to find you, to follow you, all of that?
Absolutely. Well, you can go to my website. It actually just got revamped these last couple of months. So I'm so excited about my new website, FeliciaRomero.com. And then there's information there on like different programs that I have. I hang out over on Instagram quite a bit, so you can send me a DM. I also have some free goodies in my my link tree there. You can see some free downloadables, access to the mini course, like all the different things. And I help a lot of like wellness coaches, fitness coaches, mindset coaches, create a scalable system online. So that's kind of like my jam, is really kind of digging into where I was, 5 years ago in my fitness coaching business. So, but yeah, and then you can listen to my podcast, the Hi Felicia podcast. And I drop 2 episodes a week.
Excellent.
We'll link to all of that in the show notes. So if you're listening and you didn't catch it all, just hit the show notes for all the links.
Exactly. It's right there. Awesome. Well, Felicia, this was so much fun to catch up with you again. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to make it a regular thing. I'm kind of a big fan of yours.
Oh, thank you. I love that. And let me just leave you with this. I have this little mantra on my computer that I get to read every morning. And I don't know if what time of day you're listening to this podcast, if it's morning or night, but this is a morning mantra. This can be actually a mantra at evening, afternoon, morning, but this is my morning mantra. Okay. So I welcome financial, emotional, spiritual, and physical stability into my life. I also welcome love, success, happiness, inner peace, and clarity. So I'm just going to leave you all with something that I stare at every single morning. when I opened my computer to start working. So I just wanted to share that with you all today.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are such a model for success, but also for generosity. And that's just, it's so clear and it just shines from you. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. So again, everybody follow Felicia. She's fantastic. And with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to learn how to sell and scale your offer on autopilot every single day without the chaos of live launching or the low conversions of evergreen? Who doesn't, right? Get our free on-demand video training at circuitsalessystem.com/free. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a video. We'll catch you next time.